Long before a squeeze bottle sat on every diner table in America, ketchup had a very different life story. Its earliest ancestor wasn't even made from tomatoes. Centuries ago, sailors in Southeast Asia traded a fermented fish brine called ketchup, a salty, pungent condiment that added depth to bland meals during long voyages. When it reached Europe, cooks adapted it using mushrooms and walnuts. It wasn't until the 19th century that American farmers, surrounded by an abundance of ripe tomatoes, transformed the sauce into the bright red staple we know today. That twist in culinary history set the stage for a modern industrial giant, the ketchup factory. But before anything reaches a production line of polished steel and calibrated sensors, the story begins where the air smells of warm soil and sun-ripened fruit. On a summer morning farm, workers move through rows of vibrant red tomatoes, selecting only those that have reached perfect ripeness. Each tomato is a small promise of flavor, but only if it survives the first test. In the field itself, workers perform a quick classification, sorting healthy fruit from bruised or damaged ones. The rejects never make it past this point. The good tomatoes drop gently into collection bins cushioned to prevent cracking. These bins travel to a field-side gathering point where large containers await. A forklift lifts the loaded bins, transferring them into cold chain containers. Moments later, the doors seal shut and the cooling system hums to life. The clock starts ticking. Temperature must remain stable throughout the journey to the factory. A slight rise can alter acidity, sweetness, even the texture. A small digital screen tracks every fluctuation. It's not just transport, it's preservation. The truck begins its drive to the processing plant. Inside the cooled cargo, thousands of tomatoes rest quietly. Outside, the logistics team receives live temperature data, ready to intervene if something drifts out of tolerance. Hours later, the truck rolls up to the factory gate. Paperwork documenting the tomatoes' origin, harvest time, and transport conditions is checked with the same seriousness given to a passport at an international border. Once approved, the containers are opened and the tomatoes are unloaded into the raw material receiving area. Quality inspectors move quickly. They examine color, firmness, and appearance. A few tomatoes from each batch are selected at random for rapid testing. Technicians evaluate ripeness, phi and Brix, the measure of natural sugar content that will later influence the ketchup's iconic balance of sweet and tangy. Only after passing these assessments do the tomatoes earn permission to enter the first stage of transformation. Mechanical sifters remove large debris and conveyors carry the bright red fruit toward a towering washing line. At this moment, the tomatoes have survived farming, sorting, cooling, transport, and inspection. But here's the twist. While these tomatoes look flawless to the naked eye, the real battle begins only when they meet the machines designed to strip away everything that isn't pure tomato. What exactly happens to them once they cross into the washing and sterilizing system? The answer lies in the next chapter, where the factory reveals how it dismantles a tomato piece by piece to uncover its truest, cleanest form. Shall we follow them inside? The moment the tomatoes enter the factory's inner chamber, the tone shifts. Out in the fields, everything felt organic, sunlit, almost nostalgic. But here, stainless steel corridors echo with the sound of conveyor belts, high-pressure jets, and precise mechanical rhythms. This is where the tomato stops being a fruit and begins its transformation into an ingredient. The first stop is a massive washing line. Tomatoes tumble forward as jets of water blast away soil and field residue. The pressure is surprisingly strong enough to remove stubborn dirt, but not enough to bruise the fruit. As the water drains, another system activates ozone sterilization. Invisible to the eye, ozone eliminates surface microbes, ensuring that only clean tomatoes move forward. The air smells faintly sharp, a sign that the sanitizing process is doing its work. Next, the tomatoes enter a station where any lingering stems, leaves, and bits of vine are removed. Fans blow away lightweight debris while mechanical combs pluck off anything heavier. Workers stand at the final checkpoint, visually inspecting the stream and removing the few stragglers the machines missed. Even with automation, the human eye still catches things technology overlooks. Once cleared the fruit heads straight into the blanching system. Inside a controlled chamber, hot water quickly softens the tomato skins. Seconds later, the tomatoes travel into a mechanical peeler that grips, loosens, and removes the skins with surprising elegance. It's not violent, more like watching dozens of tiny hands gently undress each tomato. Now stripped of their skins, the tomatoes encounter the sieve system, where seeds and excess fiber are separated. The seeds drop away while the pulp continues onward. From here, the tomatoes become increasingly unrecognizable. They're crushed ground and refined into a smooth, vibrant puree. It flows through pipes like liquid ruby shimmering under the factory lights. The puree undergoes 2 rounds of fine filtration. Each pass removes smaller and smaller particles, creating the velvety base that ketchup is known for. Technicians monitor thickness, color, and aroma, taking samples and checking them under bright lamps. Digital screens show real-time viscosity curves and temperature readings. If anything, drifts off target adjustments are made immediately. Precision is the unspoken law here. Now the puree reaches the standardization tank, a towering vessel where its characteristics are adjusted to meet strict specifications. Pumps move the mixture into an intermediate holding tank where it waits like a blank canvas ready for seasoning, spices, and chemistry. Up to this point, the process has been scientific and systematic: washing, sterilizing, peeling, separating, grinding. But ketchup isn't just tomato. Its identity comes from what happens next, a step so integral it can make or break the entire batch. And here's the twist: despite all this machinery, all this control, what truly defines ketchup's flavor isn't the tomato at all. It's something added later, a blend so influential that without it, the product wouldn't taste like ketchup at all. So what exactly is this secret force waiting in the next room, and how does the factory ensure that every bottle delivers that unmistakable, sweet, tangy signature? We'll uncover that in the next chapter, where spices meet science and the soul of ketchup finally takes shape. If the tomato puree is the body of ketchup, then this next stage is where it receives its personality. The massive blending hall smells different from the rest of the factory: warm, tangy, faintly sweet. Here, ingredients that seem simple on their own become something far more powerful when brought together. Workers begin by measuring out the essentials. Salt is weighed with precision down to the gram. Sugar, bright and crystalline, is loaded carefully into stainless steel bins. Barrels of vinegar are checked for acidity because even the slightest variation could shift the final flavor. Nearby, fine powders, onion, garlic, and black pepper wait on labeled trays, each batch tested for purity. Nothing enters the blend unless it passes inspection. All these ingredients are poured into a towering mixing tank where the tomato puree awaits. The moment they drop in, giant blades start turning. Slowly at first, then faster, pulling spices down into the heart of the mixture. It's mesmerizing, like watching a whirlpool tinted deep red. Heat rises through the vessel as steam jackets activate. The mixture warms steadily, allowing flavors to open up and dissolve fully. Technicians monitor viscosity using digital probes, tracking how the mixture thickens over time. Color is also checked under calibrated lights. Ketchup must have a particular shade bright enough to look appetizing, rich enough to feel authentic. As the temperature climbs, the air grows fragrant. Sweet notes from the sugar mingle with the acidic punch of vinegar. The warm spice of onion and garlic drifts through the room. It's the scent of something familiar, something that lives on fries, burgers, and the corner of every diner plate. The mixture continues cooking until it reaches the signature ketchup consistency. Then comes a surprisingly delicate moment: degassing. Tiny bubbles formed during mixing must be removed so the sauce stays smooth and glossy. Vacuum systems pull the air out, leaving behind a uniform texture. The ketchup now passes through a final, ultra-fine filtration system. This ensures that every trace of solid particle, no matter how small, is removed. What flows out is silky, dense, and unmistakably ketchup, but it still isn't ready. The next checkpoint is the formulation tank. Here, technicians measure pH, adjusting it with vinegar if necessary. They test the bricks level one last time, ensuring the balance between sweet and savory hits the exact required range. Each reading is logged. Each correction is deliberate. Perfection isn't optional, it's engineered. Finally, the mixture undergoes thermal sterilization. Heated quickly to eliminate microbes, then cooled to a safe filling temperature, it is now officially a finished sauce. Wow! Teams take fresh samples to the lab. They test for microorganisms, heavy metals, off flavors, color stability, everything needed to protect both the product and the brand. And here comes the twist. Even after all this effort, the ketchup still isn't guaranteed to become a bottle on a supermarket shelf. It must survive one more journey, a transformation so fast and precise that a single misstep could ruin an entire batch. What happens when this hot, perfectly balanced sauce meets its future home? The bottle that story unfolds in the next chapter, where fire meets plastic machines race against heat loss, and ketchup finally takes shape as the product consumers know by heart. By the time the ketchup leaves the mixing hall, it's hot, smooth, and perfectly balanced. But none of that matters unless the next stage captures all that quality inside a durable, flawless package. This is where the choreography of industrial bottling takes over a dance of heat, timing, and mechanical precision. It all starts with empty plastic bottles. They may look simple, but each one must pass a strict inspection before earning the right to hold ketchup. First, they enter a washing tunnel where high-pressure jets rinse away dust or microparticles. Then, heated air rushes through to dry them. After that, comes sterilization. A blast of hot, purified air sweeps inside each bottle, ensuring it's microbiologically clean. Any bottle with a defect, even a faint surface scratch, is ejected from the line. Next, the bottles ride along a conveyor toward the filling zone. This is where the real spectacle begins. The ketchup arrives still warm, held at a precise temperature to maintain fluidity. As the bottles pass under the filler, streams of deep red ketchup descend in controlled bursts. The timing must be perfect. Too fast and air gets trapped. Too slow and the ketchup begins to cool before sealing. Once filled, each bottle moves under a debubbling station where quick pulses remove lingering air pockets. A perfectly filled bottle has no gaps, no foam, no trapped bubbles. Only then does it proceed to the capping machine. Here, metal arms swing down in one synchronized motion, twisting caps onto bottles with just the right torque. Too loose and the product leaks. Too tight and the cap risks cracking. Immediately afterward, the bottles are gently inverted, a surprising but essential step. By flipping the bottle, the hot ketchup briefly sterilizes the inner surface of the cap. Seconds later, they're turned upright again and sent into a cooling tunnel. Fans blow refreshing air across the bottle, solidifying the seal and stabilizing the sauce inside. Every bottle then passes a leak detection system. Sensitive pressure sensors probe for even the slightest imperfection. Faulty seals rejected. Minute cracks rejected. Suspicious weight readings rejected again. The survivors head towards surface cleaning, where rotating brushes and soft cloths polish the bottles until they shine. Now comes labeling, the moment each bottle earns its identity. First, a front label is applied, followed by the printing of the production date and expiration date. Machines verify the accuracy of every printed code. Then comes the back label, completing the brand's familiar look. The bottles glide into a metal detection tunnel, then onto a precision scale that ensures each one contains a full, honest measure of ketchup. Any underweight bottle is immediately pushed aside. Finally, the bottles gather into neat rows, shrink wrapped into packs, slipped into cartons taped, stamped with QR traceability codes, and cleared through the final QC checkpoint. Inspectors check color cap tightness, viscosity, aroma, a miniature reenactment of every prior test. But here's the twist. Even though these bottles look ready for the shelf, their journey is far from over. They still must survive transportation, warehouse handling, supermarket storage, and one last unpredictable force, the customer's choice. What determines whether a bottle makes it out of the store and onto someone's dinner table? That answer arrives in the final chapter, where logistics meets human behavior and ketchup completes the journey it began in a sunlit field. Once the cartons leave the factory, the ketchup enters a world without controlled temperatures, stainless steel walls, or technicians watching every number on a screen. Now it must survive the chaos of real-world logistics. Pallets are lifted onto trucks, sealed tightly, and sent rolling toward distribution centers. Inside the trucks, vibrations ripple through the stacked cartons, but each layer of wrapping holds firm. Hours later, the trucks arrive at regional hubs, where workers scan QR codes to confirm the shipment's identity. Pallets are unloaded, sorted by destination, and reorganized depending on which supermarkets need stock first. From here, smaller trucks carry the cartons to individual stores. At the supermarket's receiving dock, employees scan the barcodes again, a digital handshake between factory and retailer. The bottles are moved into storage rooms where staff check for dents, leaks, or labels applied incorrectly. Only the best-looking bottles earn a spot on the shelf. Soon, workers begin stocking the aisle. They rotate older bottles to the front, slide new ones behind them, and straighten each row so every label faces the same direction. Under the fluorescent lights, the ketchup stands like a small red army waiting for its mission. Then the real judge appears: the customer. Someone pushing a shopping cart slows down. Their eyes scan between brands. They pick up one bottle. They read the nutrition label. They compare sugar levels, ingredients, prices. They put it back. They pick up another. And then, almost casually, they make a choice, small but powerful. The bottle you followed through every stage of production has just been selected. At checkout, the cashier scans the barcode. A soft beep confirms its new life. The bottle is placed in a bag, carried out the door, taken home, and set on a kitchen counter. For a moment, it just rests there, unaware that its grand finale is seconds away. The cap twists open with a quiet, satisfying click. And just like that, the cycle is complete. But here's the closing twist: while this ketchup has reached its end, hundreds of other foods are beginning their own astonishing journeys at this very moment. Some rise in proofing chambers, some tumble through mixers, others take shape under bladed machines or superheated ovens. If you enjoyed traveling with this bottle from soil to supermarket, stay with the channel. Another story, another product, another secret process is already waiting behind the next conveyor belt.